Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Cherisse. So, I think it can be really easy sometimes to become so wrapped up in your pain and what is going on in the current moment, in your triggers, in the traumas that are rising up, that we lose sight of how much love is actually surrounding us. We are surrounded by love all the time. Sometimes I get a little too wrapped up in the people who don't like me, or the people who hate me, or the friendships that I've lost or I'm losing, or the bad things going on in my life, that I just lose sight of how much I'm loved. How many people there are still in my life who adore me for all of my layers, for all of my mistakes and the things that I've gone through, even through the triggers and facing my shadow and my darkness. There are still people who choose me every day. I think that love is something that, when it is a deep and real love, my friend Jimmy had this quote. I don't know if he copied it from somebody else, but I'm going to quote him for it, and it says, "Real love has no beginning and does not end." I think that there are some people that you meet in life that you just love so much, so fast, and I think that that is a form of love that has no beginning and does not end. I think that, yes, we do choose who we love in a way. I think that love sometimes is accidental, and sometimes love just happens without any effort. Love is just there. But yes, we also choose who we love. We choose who we put up with shit. I have people in my life who I love unconditionally. I have people in my life who I will love them through anything, any of their mistakes. I love them through it, and I don't judge them for it. But if it was somebody else, I might not give that same amount of love and energy towards. Love is not always a choice, but at the same time it is. You are loved. If you are going through some type of relationship pattern in your life, or some type of heartache, heartbreak, rejection, abandonment wound being triggered, I just want you to know that you are loved. And you're worthy of love, too. A lot of times we don't think that we're loved because we can't see how worthy we are of being loved. But I guarantee you are more loved than you think that you are. Probably by way more people than you think that you are. I made a video recently about, I had originally titled it Chemical and Energetic Warfare, and then I switched the title to Chemical and Energetic Influences on Mental Health because I felt like the warfare seemed a little bit aggressive. And I realized that this is a topic that is very out there to some people and might rub some people wrong, or a lot of people just don't believe in it, but it's very true. And I do encourage you to check that out. I'll put a link below if you do want to check it out. But speaking of influences on our energy, I enjoy taking kratom for anxiety. It is probably one of the only things that I self-medicate with anymore, except I enjoy microdosing certain things, and kratom is something that I take to deal with excessive amounts of anxiety, and usually I have a very good balance of it in my life. Over the past couple weeks, I've been doing it so much, though, that over the past couple days, I have been trying to self-medicate with kratom for anxiety that would come up at around like sunset. I think the moon pulls up a lot of deeper emotions and it kind of makes you face your darkness. And I was not ready, I think, to face that. So I was self-medicating with kratom and it was actually making my anxiety worse. And I realized that when something is severely out of balance in my life, and you might find this applicable to yourself as well, even things that would normally be healthy for you, when they are out of balance in your life, they are no longer healthy for you. You have to learn to create a balance and recognize the things that you need to create balance in your life, even if they once were healthy habits, even if they once were helpful to you in some way. Be able to look at yourself honestly and admit whether or not these things are still healthy for you. I realized last night I connected the dots. Actually, a couple nights ago, I kind of connected the dots when after I drank kratom and I started having this really intense panic attack. It felt like I was under some type of psychic energetic attack, and I was like, dude, I'm in control of my space. I'm in control of my energy. I'm in control of what I allow into my zone. So I sat there and I meditated very intensely and I worked through it and I let it out. And I knew my intuition was telling me, it's the kratom, dude. As much as this is something that is beneficial for you at times, it is now out of balance in your life. It is now harming your body to the point that it is actually making your anxiety worse. And last night, I still partook in it again, and I experienced the same, literally, it was crazy. It was the same fucking trip. It was the same fucking anxiety spiral. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Because it was literally the same, slightly different as the anxiety spiral as the night before, but so fucking close to the same that I was like, okay, this is some weird shit. What's going on here? And I did end up working through it, but it took me all night to really let it kind of get out of my system and calm down before I fully accepted this stuff is no longer beneficial for me. This is out of balance in my life, and it's causing harm to me, and it's causing harm to my view of my relationships in my life. It is actually making it more difficult for me to see how loved I am, because it's giving me an enormous amount of anxiety when it would normally be helpful to it. So, in this, I just want to encourage you to take a look at your habits in life, whether they were healthy or not before, and be honest with yourself about what might actually be causing harm to you and the relationships in your life. I think one of the things that I've also been noticing that I do when I deal with intense emotions, I am so used to being alone. I've felt very alone for most of my life, and it has turned into me as a 29-year-old woman who feels like she has to deal with everything alone, is hyper independent. And when I feel intense emotions and I feel like I'm going to cry or I'm just feeling a lot, I run away from everybody, and I'm like, I have to go be alone now. I have to go be alone. I can't be around people. I think that there is the importance of having space from your environment, having space from the people that you love so you can ground yourself and stabilize. But I am honestly really starting to realize that this actually might be kind of harmful to some of the relationships in my life. That choosing this mode every time that I go through something intense rather than trying to open up about it and allowing other people to work with me through things, that was a healthy habit for a long time, and now I'm faced with the reality of what if I don't have to do it alone anymore? What if I can actually let people in? It's important to take time to yourself and prioritize your needs, but I think that And I literally just made a video about this like yesterday, about be patient with yourself if you're struggling. I'll also put a link to that below in the description. Maybe it's something that you need to hear. Maybe you are at a point in your life when you need to create massive amounts of boundaries in your relationships, and you really are going through a period of loneliness and having to do things alone. And it's okay if you are in that period. But I want to remind you and remind myself that being a human, part of being a human is being a part of a community. It's something that I'm not really used to, but it's something that I want to get used to. I want to start letting people in. I want to start believing that I don't have to go through everything alone. I want to start believing that I am actually more loved than I think that I am. That I am actually more accepted than I think that I am. I think now is a really important time for people to start to take a step back and look at traits that you originally might have thought were necessary for your survival. I think this goes along with inner child healing. We learn and we take on a lot of traits and personality things that are actually stem from a very wounded child. They were survival mechanisms from being a child, but you aren't there anymore. When you feel triggered, when you feel like you have to do something a certain way and it's just the way that you've always done it, I want you to take a step back. Take a deep breath. And I want you to ask yourself, when did this begin? How old was I when I started doing this? For me, it would be, how old was I when I started thinking that I had to go through everything alone? When I started running away from the relationships that mattered in my life? When did I stop opening up to people? When did I convince myself that this was something that was necessary to do? To receive love, to be okay. It was a survival mechanism that I learned as a child, but it's not necessary anymore, and sometimes you have to tell yourself that. Look at that younger version of yourself. Give him or her a big hug and say, you're safe. You're safe. You've had to protect me for so long, and now I need you to know you're safe. I've got us now. I've got us. It's going to be okay. You're going to be all right. We can do this differently this time. Just because it's the way you've always done it does not mean it's the way that you always have to. I have been feeling so depressed over the past months because I felt so alone. I've been having a lot of mental breakdowns and emotional breakdowns where I am just begging God, begging the universe to send me people to love me because I desperately need it and I do not want to do it alone anymore. Indy. Now is the time to start looking at yourself rather than looking at everybody else in your life that is screwing up or who has toxic traits and behaviors, and start looking at yourself and questioning what you're doing. What is it that you're doing that is toxic? If you are the type of person who is just so quick to call somebody else a narcissist, I want you to sit there, look at yourself, and ask yourself what narcissistic traits that you have. I think that there are some people, yes, who are quite a bit more narcissistic than others, who have a lot more narcissistic traits than others, but I'm going to tell you something right now that you might not like to hear. We are all narcissists. We are all narcissists. We all live in our own little world. You can be empathetic as fuck. You can be super connected. But you still have narcissistic traits almost 100%. I want to say 100% guaranteed, but I'm not going to do that. Almost 100% guaranteed. You have narcissistic traits too. A lot of times when we sit there and we want to call out other people for being toxic, we are not recognizing, and taking responsibility for our own toxic traits. Take responsibility for yourself and stop blaming everybody else for what you're going through. We all have problems. We're all imperfect. You don't have to hate on yourself for being perfect, for being imperfect. You don't have to hate on yourself for having flaws. You don't have to hate on yourself for the mistakes that you made and the things that you're ashamed of and the ways that you've hurt people, because we've all hurt people. It's time to forgive yourself for those things, but also to take responsibility for them. You have to take responsibility for yourself, for your actions, and for how they are affecting your relationships, how they are affecting yourself, your view of yourself, and your view of the world. There is a traumatized little child in most of us who desperately needs our love, our comfort, and our reassurance of safety. You didn't deserve to be abandoned and rejected as a child. You were perfect. You may have been very misunderstood, but there was nothing wrong with you for being the way that you were. You were innocent and you were perfect. You learned traits and behaviors of imperfection from people who were also imperfect, from people who hadn't healed yet. But that cycle can end with you. That cycle can end today. It doesn't have to keep going. You can take responsibility for who you've become, and you can change. You can always change. When you see a toxic behavior in somebody else, that is a big fucking sign to take a look at yourself and find out where that toxic behavior is. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be the same toxic behavior, but if you're so busy recognizing everybody else's toxic traits, it's because you're not looking at yourself. You gotta turn that mirror right around, take a look at your fucking self, and take responsibility for your own toxic traits. Because we've all got them. We've all got them. That's not who we have to be, though. It takes effort, awareness, and consciously working towards change. But once you see that part of yourself that you've been hiding from, blaming everybody else for hurting you, not taking responsibility for how you're hurting other people with the traits that you considered necessary, you gotta take responsibility for that. You gotta stop blaming other people. You can do it. You can change. You don't always have to be living out this story of a traumatized child. I was so alone as a little kid. I felt so alone for such a long time, but I don't have to keep living that story. I don't have to keep telling myself that I have to do this alone because nobody can be there for me like me. That is putting a wedge in between me and the relationships of the people that I want to build and grow with. So yes, sometimes you gotta take some time for yourself. Sometimes you gotta take care of yourself. Sometimes you gotta figure out your fucking shit. But sometimes you also got to learn to prioritize other people. I realize that this is like totally like a shift from my last video. I think both of these messages are absolutely necessary. Depending on what place you are at in your life right now, I think that both of these messages are totally necessary. Sometimes you got to prioritize yourself. Yes. You are the one who gets to live with yourself for the rest of your life. Sometimes you got to fucking take care of your shit. But sometimes you actually got to prioritize other people as well. And this doesn't mean you got to be a people pleaser and not have boundaries and give too much. No. That means you got to start being more considerate about how you only taking care of yourself is affecting other people. I think that this is all about balance, guys. You have to prioritize yourself, yes. You have to have boundaries sometimes, yes. But if you want to grow and build with other people in your life, if you want to have healthy relationships, you also have to prioritize other people. You also have to rise up to meet their needs and not just be like, you got to meet my needs and be all pissed off because they're not meeting your needs. What are you doing to meet their needs? What are you doing to meet their needs? Are you doing anything, or are you just getting pissed off because nobody's providing for you in the way that you fucking need them to? Could you be a better friend? Life is not just only about prioritizing yourself or prioritizing everybody else. It's about creating a balance. My favorite philosopher, Dr. Seuss, once said, life is a great balancing act. 2, 2, 2, 2 on the clock. Life is a great balancing act. And it's true. When your life is unbalanced, it's going to be an extreme pendulum swing from one to the other until you learn to create balance in your life. And balance includes everything. It's not just one thing. It's not just once I balance my mental health, everything will be fine. No. Once you got to take into account your physical health. What are you putting into your body? Are you exercising enough? Are you going outside? Spending time with God and nature, with universe, the animals, the little critters. Are you spending time, giving time to the people that you love? To good relationships, healthy relationships, people who matter. People who love and care about you and accept you for who you are. Are you giving time to feel your emotions? Are you giving time to work on your mental health? Are you giving time to build something for yourself financially, if that is something that you're doing right now? Are you giving time to love on your pets? Balance isn't just about perfecting one thing in your life, and sometimes focusing on one thing will help create balance in other areas of your life. And I have done that, and you will see it start to affect other things. It will start to create balance in other areas. But if you only stay focused on one aspect of your growth, you are not going to create actual balance. You've got to focus on everything. Otherwise, it will be this intense pendulum swing back and forth, and you will not actually be creating true, lasting balance in your life. You have to focus on all the aspects of yourself. And I know that can be overwhelming sometimes, and in that aspect, you need to be fucking patient with yourself. Stop giving yourself too much. Stop putting too much on your plate. You want to start working out, you want to start doing exercise. Maybe this is going to work for you, being like, I'm going to work out for like an hour every single fucking day after not working out at all. Like, some people can actually do that shit. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you are motivated and driven enough to do that and still have balance in other areas of your life. But maybe you don't need something that extreme, that intense. Maybe going for a 5-minute, 10-minute walk every day is a good place to start. If your life is severely out of balance and you're trying to create balance, it's okay to add healthy habits in small ways in all the areas. Journal for 10 minutes a day. Exercise for 10 minutes a day. Drink a certain amount of water each day. Make sure you talk to somebody, even if it's just for 10 minutes a day. Spend time outside, 10 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be anything massive and huge, and maybe it will turn into that, and maybe that is what you want to do. But you have to focus on all of the areas in your life that need balance, not just one. If you're only prioritizing yourself in your life and you are just not giving a fuck about anybody else, maybe I'm not going to judge you for that. I've been in that period of my life, and maybe this is a period of time, a short period of time, that you have to do that to take care of yourself, to not fall off the boat. And that's okay. But I hope that you learn that you will find more joy and fulfillment and peace, stability and healing in your life by creating a balance between prioritizing yourself and prioritizing others. I've been alone for long enough to realize that relationships are what makes life worth living. Having people in your life who love you unconditionally. Having people in your life who you love unconditionally. That's what makes life worth living. It's not you always putting yourself first. It's not you always putting up a wall and creating boundaries in every relationship in your life because just so nobody fucking hurts you. Maybe there are people who aren't right for you. Maybe you don't need boundaries. Maybe you need to let certain people go. Maybe being around toxic, poisonous people is not good for you. And it sucks to lose relationships, but sometimes you gotta let people go. Sometimes you gotta let habits go. Sometimes you gotta let certain foods go. And your life may feel a little bit more empty, but look, you just made some fucking space for something real. Wouldn't you rather have something real? Wouldn't you rather have more people who actually love and accept you for who you are and not who you pretend to be? Who love you even when you make mistakes? I think to do that, though, you gotta start taking a look at yourself and calling yourself out for your own shit. You've gotta stop blaming everybody else. I believe in you. That's it. That's it, guys. This video is already a little longer than I expected to be, but I love you guys, and I hope that you have an absolutely amazing day. You're doing awesome. You're doing awesome. I believe in you.